Hey everybody, welcome back to another fun video. Today we're going to be doing load development on a budget without a chronograph. Before we get going guys, this is future me going back into the past to come and tell you that this load development is not for everybody. It's just a quick way for me to see where I start to see pressure, and I know that I can back off from there and load up a whole bunch and be safe as far as pressure goes. So this isn't necessarily the most accurate load development. It's not the most consistent load development, especially once you change your brass, but it's a good starting point if you don't have a chronograph and you don't want to shoot a whole bunch of 3 to 5 round groups, wasting all your bullets. So this is just my quick and easy how to find your pressure signs, essentially. And then once you know where your pressure signs are starting, that's when I can do my 3 to 5 round groups, move a couple tenths in my charge weight up and down and see if I have any kind of accuracy nodes anywhere near where my pressure is. So that's enough of that. I know you guys are smart. Just watch for pressure and stay safe, and we're going to get on with today's show. Today's bullet is going to be the 75 grain boat tail hollow point from Hornady. That's part number 2279. The two powders we have to test today, we've got Shooter's World Precision and also IMR 8208 XBR. The brass we've selected, these are Hornady Frontier 556 cases. I've heard they're made by Lake City and just head stamped Hornady. However, I'm uncertain, but they all match. They've all been sized, swaged, trimmed, chamfered, deburred, the whole 9 yards, and they are ready to go. Our primers we've selected are going to be the CCI number 625, or the CCI 41s. They're a hard military primer known to withstand lots of pressure, and that's how I'm going to be doing my load development, is where I start to see pressure signs. So we're going to take a look at some data before we get started. Here's the Hornady 10th edition manual, and on their 73 to 75 grain bullet, we see our part number 2279, the boat tail hollow point. And here we're going to look at 8208, starting at 20.9 grains, going all the way up to 22.8 grains. Hornady generally has pretty conservative velocities and charge weights, so I'm going to write this number down and then go and look at some Hodgdon data and see what they have to say. And yes, it is an IMR powder, but Hodgdon is their importer. So the nice Hodgdon website has data for all that fun stuff, including Winchester powders as well. And then finally on this Hornady book, we're going to see our overall length here. It's going to be 2.25 inches. Here we have Hodgdon's data. They're using the 75 grain JLK VLD, but here we've got 8208 XBR, the same seating depth of 2.25 inches. And they're going to start at 20 grains and go all the way up to 22.7. Now, Hornady suggested they have a max velocity of 2,700, but Hodgdon here is listing a 10th grain less with over 100 feet per second more velocity. So I'm going to probably stop somewhere right around 22.7. I might go right up to 23 just to see if we don't hit any pressures before then, if we can go a little bit hotter than the listed books here. For our data on the Shooter's World Precision, I'm going to turn right to the Shooter's World Reloading Guide. So how about that? They usually send one of these out every year, but you can also check their website, and they have a more updated PDF that they keep regularly updated as they gather new data for their new powders. If you were watching or paying attention through this year, they came out with the AR Plus, and it's not even in this manual that came out in the same year. So make sure to check their website for more updated data than if you have a paper copy. Here's going to be our Shooter's World Precision data. They have 223 load information, but I'm going to be looking at 556. And right here, they've got the Hornady boat tail hollow point. And they're going to start at 20 grains also, but go all the way up to 25 grains. And they're going to say that we're going to hit a velocity of 28.29. Now, I know I have a 16-inch barrel. I'll probably not get anywhere close to that, but it's kind of good to know what they think we should be achieving. Before we start to pour any powder here, I went ahead and plugged all our information into Gordon's reloading tool. They're going to say our maximum allowed pressure is going to be 62.3 psi. So it looks like our 8208 load is going to come up well short of that. But we also have a max velocity of 2665, which is going to be about 1 to 200 feet per second less than we're expecting based on Hornady and Hodgdon with whatever barrel length they had tested. So I was all good and excited until I started plugging in our Shooter's World Precision. And here's the max charge that they suggest with a maximum pressure of 67.8 thousand psi. And I feel like that would have probably blown off my face, had I not looked here. So that's why we start lower and work up as we do a load development. So if our max pressure is 62.3 K, it looks like somewhere around 24.4 grains and below will be under that safe pressure. I might even be seeing it here at our starting charge, but that's why we're going to test these things. And I want to mention part of doing this load development method is being able to identify your signs of pressure. That's why we want to use matching head stamps just so they all have the same case capacity. That way we can see as we increase our charge weight, we can see as the pressure increases as well. Okay, now that we got all the homework out of the way, we're going to actually start loading these up, and this should go pretty quick. To prime our cases, we're going to throw our Lee Ram Prime right in here to the old rock chucker. The kit comes with this shell holder you put in up top here. And this actually holds your shell holder that you would usually put into your ram. And down at the bottom in the ram, we have this nice little mechanism that holds our primer. It comes with a large and a small cup here, and we just insert this down into our ram. Try not to throw your spring across the room. That could be embarrassing. There we go. And before we lose anything, I'm going to throw all this back into here. And now we can get it out of the way. And then finally, we need our primers. We're going to take our little primer flip tray, and we're going to put 10 of our CCI 41s in there. There we go. We got 10 beautiful primers, and I don't have to flip them at all. So I like to start with this by moving my computer out of the way. We're going to raise it all the way to the top, and you can set it in there without actually touching any of the compound. We're going to take our unprimed case and come up, and then we can slowly fit that in. Sometimes I'll turn it about 90 degrees and give it another push. And now we have our beautifully primed case there. I'm going to go ahead and knock these out real quick, and then we'll get on with getting our powder charges weighed out. To weigh out our charges today, we'll be using the Lyman O-House D5 scale. But we're going to start with our first charge. That's going to be 21.8 grains. So we'll adjust this here up to 20 with the 5 grain increments. And then over here, we can go to 1.8. So now we have it set for 21.8 grains. And I lied. Along with the trickler, I'll be starting with a little scoop here just to get us moving. We'll get a couple of these. I think this is a smaller pistol size scoop. It's a 0.5 cc. Now we can see our scale starting to bob a little bit. Oh, don't go too far. And there we have it at 21.8 grains. So in order to get this into our case, which I have listed our charge weights on, just so if my brass gets mixed up, I'll still have these as a reference. I have these two nice little funnels I had 3D printed because the one I have back here, this older RCBS, is too large for a 22 caliber neck. So I got these printed. They fit a lot better. I got this nice sparkly red. I told him to just use whatever we have left. And this nice little purple one as well. So we've got our 21.8 grains of powder. We will take our powder and try not to spill anything. Make sure everything fell in there. And now we can see our charged case. Now we have our first one charged. We're going to move our scale. We need to go to 22.1, so we'll just bump that up a couple of tenths. And we'll see if we can forgo the scoop this time. And we're pretty close there. We just need a couple extra tenths. And there we have it, 22.1 grains. We'll just take our second case, appropriately labeled, and dump this as well. Okay, I won't bore you with the rest of the process. I'll get all these weighed out, and I'll meet you before we're seating the bullets. So we're just going to verify all of our cases have powder. And with our smaller increments, it'll be harder to tell a difference between each charge, but we can see our first and our last charges are clearly different. So I think we're in the right direction. I'll see you at the seating die. Moving on over to the bullet seating, we have our dummy round here. And it's just a few thousandths over our overall length, which is going to be perfect because I can set the die just barely high and then work it in with our actual loads. So we'll take off our little locator button. I'm going to back this way out because it was set with those 55 grains we were loading with our precision there. So that's way backed out. We're going to raise this up, and I'm still nervous about it, so we'll keep coming out. Okay, now that my ram is fully in the upright position, we'll lower our seating stem until we hit it. There we go, that's barely snug, and now we can pull out our dummy round. And if you've never actually seen this 75 grain bullet, these guys are long compared to their 55 grain counterparts. We've got our first case in the press now, and I'm going to seat a bullet right there. We're going to go ahead and raise it up, and we'll measure and see how much adjustment we need to make here. And wow, that's exactly where the other one was. So I will barely move that down just a hair, and we will try again here. And if we're actually a few thousandths over, I'm not upset because we're still under magazine length, and Hornady just recommends the 2.25 just to make sure you're under that. And a little extra room will actually help us with pressure as well. So we'll move this over to the crimping die and make sure that's set appropriately. And then we'll pull this out here and see what we have. That's about my standard medium crimp. So I'm going to run these other ones here and we'll get on with it. So there we go, there's our 5 rounds with 8208 XBR. And that's another good thing about loading on a progressive, as well as having your rounds labeled, is that they can all come out and you can still put them back in the correct order. And I'll have to do them all one at a time. So I've weighed out all of our Shooter's World precision charges, and now I'm going to go ahead and seat all of those, starting with our 23.8 grain charge. So I am a big idiot, and I went ahead and seated all of those, and now that I'm on the second charge here, we're already past our magazine length because we're compressed. And here's our max charge, 15 thousandths over our target length. I'm going to have to go back and reseat all of these and hope the crimp didn't screw them up too much. So how about we make my mistakes a good reminder to always check your things when you're working with a new bullet. I'm not used to these ultra much longer projectiles, so I need to be more careful about that in the future. All right, now that we've got all those straightened out, I've got my 5 rounds with each powder ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and take these out probably tomorrow, which means nothing to you guys, but stay tuned for a part 2 where I'll be going over our pressure signs and maybe have some range footage, all of that fun stuff. With all that being said, we're going to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for watching my how to do a load development without a chronograph. I know it's not the best method. If you do have a chronograph, you should certainly be doing that. And you should probably also start lower than I am and work up as far as being able to see pressure signs. So stay safe, guys. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next video.